All India Radio presents Morning News. Good morning, I am Saira Mujtaba and with me is Sarabjit Kaur. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to address BJP workers on party's Foundation Day today. Foreign envoys invited to BJP headquarters on the occasion. Parliament passes bill to merge 3 municipal corporations of Delhi into one. Home Minister Amit Shah to move Criminal Procedure Identification Bill 2022 in Rajya Sabha today. Karnataka government hikes subsidy given to SC/ST communities under land ownership scheme from 15 lakh to 20 lakh rupees. Registration process for Common University Entrance Test CUET 2022 begins today. UGC chairman says entrance test has been designed in a way that no student is put to disadvantage. Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa revoked state of emergency declared on 1st of April. India beat Malaysia 4-0 to register their third consecutive victory in FIH Women's Junior World Cup at Potchefstroom in South Africa. And in IPL cricket, Royal Challengers Bangalore beat Rajasthan Royals by 4 wickets in Mumbai. As our nation celebrates the 75th year of independence, a series of events is being organized by the government as part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. To commemorate the occasion as a Jan Utsav, All India Radio News brings its listeners a special quiz on India's freedom movement and its glorious history. Recalling our yesterday's question, under whose leadership was the first parallel government set up in Balia, in eastern Uttar Pradesh, during the Quit India movement? The correct answer is Chittu Pandey. On 20th August 1942, the people of Balia declared independence from the British rule and set up a national government with Chittu Pandey as its first head. For carrying out the civil administration, separate panchayats were set up for different localities. Congress workers were appointed for the defence of the city. This national government took over control over 7 out of 10 police stations. AIR News got an overwhelming response from its listeners across the world, and the one lucky winner of the quiz is Annada Prasad Patnaik from Bakshi Bazar, Cuttack in Odisha.
Good morning, I am Annada Prasad Patnaik from Cuttack, Odisha. Being chosen as a winner in Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav quiz, I am happy and thankful to AIR News Division. I am associated with Akashvani since my childhood. We know full details about the freedom fighters and their sacrifices in the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav program, which empowers our general knowledge to a great extent. My sincere request to AIR News Division to continue Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav program even after 15th August 2022. Thank you. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Congratulations, Mr. Patnaik from Team AIR News. The next question of Amrit Mahotsav quiz will be shared with listeners on Monday, that is 11th of April. Celebrate 75 years of India's independence by participating in Amrit Mahotsav quiz with AIR News. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address the BJP workers on the occasion of the party's Foundation Day today. He will address the Foundation Day event via video conferencing at 10 a.m. Addressing the BJP Parliamentary Party meeting yesterday, the Prime Minister urged BJP MPs to dedicate themselves to service as party embarks on a Samajik Nyay Pakhwada or Social Justice Fortnight from tomorrow. During the fortnight from the 7th to the 20th of this month, the BJP workers will organize programs at the booth, block and district levels to highlight the benefits of government welfare schemes. The party will also observe in a big way the birth anniversary of social reformer Jyotirao Phule on 9th April and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar on 14th of April. Briefing the media, Senior Party Leader and Union Minister Prahlad Joshi said there will be programs every day based on government schemes including Ayushman Bharat, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana and Har Ghar Jal Yojana during the period.
इस प्रोग्राम में एक दिन हम तालाब स्वच्छता का एक कार्यक्रम ले रहे हैं, आंगनवाड़ी जा रहे हैं, ऐसे बहुत कार्यक्रम है और सभी हमारे एमपीज को माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने एक आह्वान किया है, उन्होंने प्रेरणा दी है कि 15 दिवस के आजादी के अमृत महोत्सव के इस पर्व पर सभी अपने क्षेत्र में सेवा में लगाइए, सेवा के कार्य में लगाइए, ऐसे उन्होंने आह्वान की है। अम्बेडकर का जयंती का दिन भी विशेष प्रोग्राम का माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने आह्वान की है।
BJP National President J.P. Nadda will unfurl the party's flag at the party headquarters and garland the statues of Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee and Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay. A blood donation camp will also be organized at the party headquarters in New Delhi. Mr. Nadda will also launch a new initiative, namely No BJP, on the occasion of party's foundation day today. It is aimed at specifically addressing the overseas audience. Under this initiative, he will interact with 13 head of missions to India at the BJP headquarters in New Delhi and elaborate on the history, struggles, successes, ideology and contributions of the BJP and its governments in national development. Mr. Nadda will also address queries from the guests. A documentary film depicting the journey of Jan Sangh and Bharatiya Janata Party will also be shown during the program. During the event, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and other BJP leaders will join Mr. Nadda. In a statement, the party said it intends to continue such interactions with small groups of foreign diplomats in future too.
Parliament has passed the Delhi Municipal Corporation Amendment Bill 2022 with the Rajya Sabha approving it yesterday. The amendments moved by the opposition were also negated. The Lok Sabha has already passed the bill. The bill seeks to further amend the Delhi Municipal Corporation Act 1957 and proposes to unify the three existing municipal corporations of Delhi into one municipal corporation. It envisages bringing about greater transparency, improved governance and more efficient delivery of civic service for the people of Delhi. It also limits the number of councillors from 272 to the maximum of 250. At present, the three corporations in Delhi, North, South and East Delhi municipal corporations have a total of 272 seats. Replying to the discussion on the bill, Union Home Minister Amit Shah rejected the opposition charges, saying that this bill has been brought by following all the constitutional norms.
अनुच्छेद 239 ए के साथ अनुच्छेद 239 ए 3B के अनुसार संसद को दिल्ली संघ राज्य क्षेत्र या उसके किसी भी भाग के बारे में किसी भी विषय पर कानून बनाने का अधिकार प्राप्त है। इसके अतिरिक्त अनुच्छेद 239 ए 3C इसके तहत संसद को राष्ट्रीय राजधानी क्षेत्र दिल्ली विधानसभा द्वारा बनाए गए किसी भी कानून को संशोधित करने का, उसके स्वरूप को बदलने का या उसको निरस्त करने का भी अधिकार प्राप्त। ये भूल जाते हैं कि दिल्ली राजधानी क्षेत्र पूर्ण राज्य नहीं, इसका यूटी से भी एक अलग स्टेटस और इसके लिए संविधान के अंदर अलग प्रोविजन है।
Mr. Shah said that the Delhi government has not disbursed the 40,561 crore rupees to the three civic bodies as per the recommendation of the 5th Delhi Finance Commission. Union Home Minister Amit Shah is scheduled to move the Criminal Procedure Identification Bill 2022 in Rajya Sabha today. The bill seeks to authorize for taking measurements of convicts and other persons for the purposes of identification and investigation in criminal matters and to preserve records. Lok Sabha had already passed the bill. Tribal Affairs Minister Arjun Munda is also scheduled to move the Constitution Scheduled Tribes Order Amendment Bill 2022 in the Upper House. The bill will further amend the Constitution Scheduled Tribes Order 1950 for inclusion of certain communities in the list of scheduled tribes in relation to the state of Tripura. In Lok Sabha, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is scheduled to move the Weapons of Mass Destruction and Their Delivery Systems Prohibition of Unlawful Activities Amendment Bill 2022. The bill will amend the Weapons of Mass Destruction and Their Delivery Systems Prohibition of Unlawful Activities Act 2005. The situation in Ukraine will also be discussed in the lower house.
The Karnataka government has decided to increase the subsidy given to SC/ST communities from 15 lakh rupees to 20 lakh rupees under the land ownership scheme. Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai announced this in Bengaluru yesterday during the Babu Jagjeevan Ram Award function. He also announced that Babu Jagjeevan Ram's self-employment scheme will be introduced within a week for the SC/ST communities. He also announced free power up to 75 units for these communities in rural areas.
You're listening to the morning news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to address BJP workers on the party's Foundation Day today. Foreign envoys invited to BJP headquarters on the occasion. Parliament passes bill to merge 3 municipal corporations of Delhi into one. Home Minister Amit Shah to move Criminal Procedure Identification Bill 2022 in Rajya Sabha today. Karnataka government hikes subsidy given to SC/ST communities under land ownership scheme from 15 lakh to 20 lakh rupees. Registration process for Common University Entrance Test CUET 2022 begins today. UGC chairman says entrance test has been designed in a way that no student is put to disadvantage. Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa revoked state of emergency declared on April 1st. India beat Malaysia 4-0 to register their third consecutive victory in FIH Women's Junior World Cup at Potchefstroom in South Africa. And in IPL cricket, Royal Challengers Bangalore beat Rajasthan Royals by 4 wickets in Mumbai. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
स्वाधीनता संग्राम के वे निशान जो साक्षी हैं हमारे सेनानियों के संघर्ष और बलिदान के। आकाशवाणी समाचार ला रहा है विशेष श्रृंखला निशान। हर बुधवार को शाम 4:45 पर कार्यक्रम परिक्रमा में FM गोल्ड 100.1 मेगाहर्ट्ज पर।
उपभोक्ताओं तक पहुंचने का सुलभ और सस्ता माध्यम है आकाशवाणी।
आकाशवाणी के विभिन्न केंद्रों से कीजिए अपने उत्पादों और सेवाओं का प्रचार विज्ञापनों के माध्यम से।
लोकल और राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर कीजिए अपने बिजनेस का विस्तार, क्योंकि आकाशवाणी में विज्ञापन बुकिंग हुई बहुत ही आसान।
अब घर, दफ्तर या दुकान पर बैठे बैठे आप कर सकते हैं विज्ञापनों की बुकिंग।
डायल कीजिए 870-001-4242।
नंबर एक बार फिर नोट करें 870-001-4242।
Welcome back. You're listening to the morning news. The registration process for Common University Entrance Test CUET 2022 for admission to undergraduate programs will start today. The entrance exam will be conducted in the first week of July. The 3.5-hour computer-based entrance test will be conducted in 2 shifts. Candidates will find the online application form for CUET 2022 on the official website cuet.samarth.ac.in, and all other details will also be available on National Testing Agency's official website nta.nic.in. CUET is compulsory for all 45 central universities funded by University Grants Commission. UGC Chairman M. Jagdish Kumar said CUET has been designed in a way that no student is put to disadvantage, and it will also ensure that the level of stress that youngsters undergo is brought down. Talking exclusively to AIR News, Professor Jagdish Kumar said, in the current system, many universities use Class 12 board exam marks, and the score goes up to 99% and 100%, giving a lot of stress to students.
In some states, for the same effort, the students may not be able to get even 80%. So it is creating a lot of problems to the students. And in addition, many universities also conduct their own entrance examination. And as a result, students have to travel to different cities. They have to write multiple entrance tests. To remove all these things and to relieve our students from all these kinds of stresses they undergo, we have introduced this CUET.
Professor Jagdish Kumar said that NEP 2020 envisions a multidisciplinary approach, and the same has been endeavoured with CUET. He said a lot of flexibility has been introduced for the students.
We are conducting this examination in 2 sessions. The first session, the students can decide to write 1 language paper, 2 domain subjects, and 1 general test. And the session will be for about 3.5 hours to 4 hours. And in the second session, the students can write 4 domain subject tests and 1 foreign language test. Now, how will the student choose which test to write? For this, you please look at the universities where you are planning to apply?
The government has provided more than 17 crore 90 lakh Ayushman cards to the beneficiaries under the Ayushman Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. Minister of State for Health and Family Welfare, Dr. Bharti Pawar, said this in a written reply in Rajya Sabha yesterday. The scheme, which is the world's largest healthcare program, provides a health cover of 5 lakh rupees annually to vulnerable families and aims at benefiting more than 10 crore poor families all over the country. Over 3 crore 28 lakh people have availed treatment under the scheme. Government has said that property cards have been prepared in around 31,000 villages in the country under the Swamitva scheme. The scheme aims to provide the record of rights to village household owners possessing houses in inhabited areas in villages. The Minister of State for Panchayati Raj, Kapil Moreshwar Patil, said this in a written reply in Lok Sabha. And now let's listen to our special program, Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव।
Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. Birth of a Nation. India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the struggle every day.
Man needs salt as he needs air and water. This salt comes from the Indian Ocean. Let every Indian claim it as his right.
On 6th April 1930, Mahatma Gandhi, after walking for 241 miles, defied the salt's law by picking up a lump of salt at Dandi village in Gujarat.
Truth was once again on the march. Never was the wave of patriotism so powerful in the hearts of Indians as it was on this great occasion.
The spark of Dandi March ignited the flames of the freedom movement and caused the idea of mass civil disobedience to spread like wildfire across the nation.
Daily, Gandhi tramped about 10 miles. On the way he spoke on his familiar themes, beseeching the people to abjure alcohol, abandon child marriage, and, when the signal came, to break the salt law.
Dandi March was initiated by Mahatma Gandhi from Sabarmati Ashram on the 13th of March 1930 along with 78 satyagrahis. Daily they walked and addressed public meetings. The ashram routine of prayer, spinning and writing up the daily diary was followed by every marcher.
After the day's march through heat and dust, Gandhi and his followers entered the village Dharamshala for the night's rest. In the evening, the prayer meeting was held in the village. Gandhi explained his mission. The soldiers of the first batch had burnt their boats the moment the march began. He added that he would not return to the ashram until the Salt Act was repealed and Swaraj won. Next morning, the people of Aslali saw Gandhi stride away with his pilgrim band to the next stage in the journey to the sea.
The long march of 241 miles finally ended on the 5th of April 1930. Along the way, Gandhiji and his companions had broken journey for the night at 22 places.
Sarojini Naidu received Gandhi and his followers on the outskirts of the village. After relaxing for a few hours, he set out to prepare the people for the war against the salt tax that was to begin next morning.
On April the 6th, the atmosphere at Dandi was both tense and solemn. The day began with prayers, and Gandhiji addressed the people.
Those who fear the government will leave. Only those who are prepared for jail-going and for receiving bullets should accompany me tomorrow morning.
Gandhiji then nominated Shri Abbas Tayyibji and after him Sarojini Naidu to lead the Satyagraha if he was arrested. After prayers, Gandhiji with his followers took a bath in the sea. Then, at 8:30 a.m., he defied the salt law by picking up a lump of salt. The entire nation rose against what Gandhiji described as Gunda Raj.
Millions broke the salt law and courted imprisonment. Salt depots were raided everywhere, and the manufacture of salt was undertaken. In a single raid at Dharsana, 289 volunteers were wounded. But even the brutality of the police failed to break the morale of the people. The police opened fire in Calcutta, Madras and Karachi and perpetrated acts of brutality all over the country. On May the 4th, Mahatma Gandhi was arrested at Karadi, 3 miles from Dandi, whilst asleep in his cottage.
We also remember martyr Babuji Donsegir, a resident of Khandesh, Maharashtra, who died on the 6th of April 1858. Babuji was a soldier in the English East India Company Army in Khandesh, but left it during the First War of Indian Independence in 1857 and took part in fighting against the British on several occasions. He also offered financial assistance to his neighbors and encouraged them to join the independence movement. He was martyred on the 6th of April 1859 in the course of an engagement in Khandesh. We salute the great son of the soil.
We also remember martyr Ghulam Nabi, who took part in the First War of Indian Independence in 1857. Initially a soldier in the British Indian Army at Ambala, Nabi joined the Indian freedom activists and fought against the British Army. However, he was captured by the British soldiers and charged with mutiny and desertion. He was executed on the 6th of April 1858 at Ambala.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
During the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav celebration to commemorate 75 years of independence, special focus has been given to commemorate heroes of freedom struggle. Union Minister of State for Home Affairs Ajay Kumar Mishra informed this in a written reply to Lok Sabha. He said steps were taken to preserve the memories of freedom fighters, including conservation plan of cellular jail in Andaman. The minister said that the Dictionary of Martyrs of India's freedom struggle from 1857 to 1947, published by the Ministry of Culture, has recorded the names of freedom fighters. The Ayush Ministry will celebrate Yoga Mahotsav on the World Health Day at Red Fort in New Delhi tomorrow. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla and several union ministers will demonstrate common yoga protocol on 75th day of countdown of International Day of Yoga. During the event, members of parliament, ambassadors of various countries, prominent sports celebrities and yoga gurus will participate. The ministry, with its various stakeholders, has chalked out a 100 days countdown program of 8th International Day of Yoga, wherein 100 organizations are promoting yoga in 100 cities.
On the final day of his tour to the Netherlands, President Ramnath Kovind is scheduled to visit The Hague, where he will hold meetings with the President of the Senate and the President of the House of Representatives and other members of both the houses. Mr. Kovind will hold separate meetings with the Prime Minister of the Netherlands, Mark Rutte. A lunch will be hosted by the Prime Minister in honor of the visiting President.
India has condemned the killing of civilians in Bucha, Ukraine at the United Nations Security Council, calling for an independent UN inquiry. Speaking at a UNSC meeting on Ukraine, India's permanent representative to the UN, T.S. Tirumurti, called the reports of civilian killings in Bucha town as deeply disturbing. Mr. Tirumurti said India continues to remain deeply concerned at the worsening situation and reiterates its call for an immediate cessation of violence and end to hostilities. He said India continues to emphasize that the global order is anchored on international law, the UN Charter, and respect for territorial integrity and sovereignty of states. Mr. Tirumurti said diplomacy must prevail as the only viable option to end the Russia-Ukraine crisis. He said keeping in view the dire humanitarian situation in Ukraine, India has been sending humanitarian supplies to Ukraine and its neighbors, which include medicines and other essential relief materials. Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has revoked the state of emergency, which was declared on April the 1st amid widespread protests following the nation's economic crisis. In a Gazette notification, Mr. Rajapaksa said the emergency rule ordinance would stand revoked from midnight last night. The entire cabinet has resigned and the ruling party lost its majority in parliament. In another setback, Sri Lankan Finance Minister Ali Sabri resigned yesterday, a day after his appointment and ahead of crucial talks scheduled with the International Monetary Fund for a loan program. UN Human Rights Office has urged Sri Lankan authorities to find a solution to the country's economic and political challenges.
In Pakistan, the Supreme Court adjourned till today the hearing of case filed by the joint opposition over rejection of the no-trust motion against Prime Minister Imran Khan. During yesterday's hearing, the court ordered the government to present minutes of the proceedings in the National Assembly after the no-confidence motion was moved. National Assembly Deputy Speaker Qasim Khan Suri on Sunday ruled that the no-confidence motion was linked with a foreign conspiracy to topple the government and hence was not maintainable. Minutes later, President Arif Alvi dissolved the National Assembly on the advice of Prime Minister Imran Khan. The government has said the forthcoming census is to be the first digital census and there is also a provision for self-enumeration. In a written reply to a question in Lok Sabha yesterday, Minister of State for Home Nityanand Rai said, Census 2021 and related field activities have been postponed until further orders due to the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic.
As per the procedure adopted for more than 3 decades, the Press Information Bureau accreditation is granted only after due police verification and concurrence of Ministry of Home Affairs. This was stated by Union Minister of Information and Broadcasting Anurag Singh Thakur in a written reply in the Lok Sabha. He further said that the Central Media Accreditation Guidelines 2022 were formulated after taking into consideration suggestions received by the Press Information Bureau from various stakeholders. Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Singh Thakur has said that the government has blocked 22 YouTube channels, 18 of which were operating from India, while 4 were from Pakistan. Talking to media outside Parliament yesterday, Mr. Thakur said the centre had blocked such channels earlier too, and the total number of blocked channels stands at 78. The minister said these channels were involved in spreading misinformation against India, its sovereignty, national security and relations with other countries.
If we look at these 22 YouTube channels which were blocked, 18 as I said reporting from India and 4 from Pakistan, total views were 262 crores. They were involved in the misinformation against India, which will have an impact on the sovereignty and integrity of India and also on the national security and the India's relation with the other nations. They were spreading misinformation on Ukraine-Russia conflict, on the COVID news and other such issues which were directly impacting India. As I promised in our previous action when we took that whether the channels were operating from the foreign soil or from India, will take action.
On to sports now. In the FIH Women's Junior World Cup, India defeated Malaysia 4-0 to register their third consecutive victory in their Pool D campaign at Potchefstroom, South Africa yesterday. With this, the group stage match for India comes to an end. India have won all 3 matches and confirmed a spot against South Korea in the quarter-final on Friday. Earlier, India defeated Germany and Wales. India are now unbeaten table toppers from their pool.
In the IPL cricket, Royal Challengers Bangalore beat Rajasthan Royals by 4 wickets at the Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai last night. Put into bat first, Rajasthan posted 169 for 3 in the stipulated 20 overs, riding on Jos Butler's unbeaten 70 runs and Shimon Hetmere's not out 42. Today, Kolkata Knight Riders will take on Mumbai Indians.
And now let's take a look at the weather forecast for today. National capital Delhi is likely to have heat wave. Temperature will vary between 20 and 40 degrees Celsius. Mumbai will have a mainly clear sky, becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening. Chennai will have a partly cloudy sky. Temperature will vary between 34 and 24 degrees Celsius.
And now an overview of today's newspapers. Bill to unify MCDs, churnings in Sri Lanka and butcher killings are highlighted by the press today. Hindustan Times headlines, Lanka president loses majority as street protests intensify. Parliament not to bill for unification of 3 municipal bodies in Delhi, writes the Asian Age. Condemn butcher killings, back call for probe, says India, writes the Indian Express. And DU to fix merit by total CUET score in combinations, writes the Times of India. And finally, the Pioneer has noted Intergovernmental Panel for Climate Change's warnings. The paper headlines, act now or face 3 degrees Celsius rise by century end.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Modi to address BJP workers on party's foundation day today. Foreign envoys invited to BJP headquarters on the occasion. Parliament passes bill to merge 3 municipal corporations of Delhi into one. Home Minister Amit Shah to move Criminal Procedure Identification Bill 2022 in Rajya Sabha today. Karnataka government hikes subsidy given to SC/ST communities under land ownership scheme from 15 lakh to 20 lakh rupees. Registration process for CUET 2022 begins today. Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajpaksa revoked state of emergency declared on 1st April. India beat Malaysia 4-0 to register their third consecutive victory in FIH Women's Junior World Cup in South Africa. And with that, we end the morning news. Have a great day.